Super Squirt in World of Warcraft as opposed to Final Fantasy. So in Final Fantasy, we have a optional system to engage in called minions. These minions can follow you around. They sit down here or some right on your shoulder, etc. The only thing you can do with minions besides have them out is you can deploy them on your island sanctuary to walk around, which is kind of like your garrison. It's a private instance zone that you place things very manually among the limited options. And you can kind of do some gathering and stuff there. It's a little different than the garrison system, but they're a close parallel. And there is a optional minigame called Lords of Verminion. Lords of Verminion takes place inside the Golden Saucer. So if you complete tournaments, you get a minion. Complete all 24 Verminion challenges, they'll give you a Clockwork Twintania. This ends up being a MOBA style game where you kind of deploy a set of minions to fight over these kind of towers. And so it's not everybody's thing. Especially because these feel like you're going out in the world and you're getting Pokemon. And some you get from bosses and some, right, you get from vendors. Well, in World of Warcraft, you can actually get these by catching them in like wild Pokemon battles. And there's literal trainers. And so it takes a lot of elements that Final Fantasy actually gets out of their triple triad system, where you actually get these cards from a ton of different drops and there are trainers and things like that. And so the pet system within World of Warcraft ends up being a blend between the minion system and the triple triad system, because there are trainers and there are tournaments and there are the ability to get them in the wild and get them in instances, and a lot of them maybe have multiple sources or something like that. And interesting. They can also, a lot of them can be bought and sold on the market board, so you end up like this, but they actually level up. And so in our triple triad system, we do have rarity. So we have 1 stars, and we have all the way up to, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, and even 5-star cards. And your deck can have a certain number of each rarity to make sure it's kind of a balanced deck. And so I end up with these decks where I have 1 5-star, 1 4 stars, and everything else has to be a 1, 2, or 3. So I have 3 3-stars. And so there's your kind of deck building rules. Well, in World of Warcraft, your pets can be leveled, and they can have a rarity, which would be basically high quality versus low quality is really what it works out to, because anything below blue doesn't really matter to me. But basically, you would kind of have these rarities that step up, and I only care about the top rarity. And then in addition to that, you have a level, and they can be leveled up. And this allows them to kind of be a lot like Pokemon. And then they can actually take place in Pokemon battles. If you want to increase the quality of your overall stable, because your total number that you have caught, like I have 292 unique minions in Final Fantasy. I have like something around 900 unique pets in World of Warcraft. This ends up being a moderate level collection in both games. So the number is just simply larger in World of Warcraft, and a lot of that is because the battle pet system, since it's been added in Cataclysm, they have drastically increased the number of pets per expansion from Cataclysm onward. And they did a good job, kind of like when Guild Wars added fishing back in February with End of Dragons, going back and adding it to old zones, which we are seeing Final Fantasy start to get into with their fishing system, because next patch in 6.3, we are going to see their underwater fishing, their gigging system, go into Outer Lenosha, which will be the first time we can do the underwater diving aspect in a Realm Reborn zone. So a lot of parallels here. So Super Squirt is kind of like an eclipse within an eclipse. There is a rare event in which Squirt is available to challenge in your Warlords of Draenor garrison. Imagine if there was a triple triad vendor in Island Sanctuary that was only up sometimes. And when it was up, it was a rare chance to make a card instead of a 1-star, a 3-star, or a 5-star card, if that sort of thing was added to this system. Now, in addition to that, World of Warcraft not only has seasonal events, but they have rotational things, such as imagine if Unreals were something that was just every 3rd week, an Unreal was up, and the Unreals rotated, and it was a random trial from A Realm Reborn, and then the next Unreal was a random trial from Heavensward, and then the next Unreal was a random trial from... And it just rotated where the Unreal was being pulled from. And then in addition to that, they had a week where you, instead of having the Make It Rain campaign, it was every 6th week is a Make It Rain week, and so on. Well, they have weeks that are called Pet Battle Bonus events, which is relatively self-explanatory. We get bonus pet battle experience and it doubles the rate at which they level. So you have Squirt, a wandering trainer that has a rare chance of popping up, and you have a pet battle event. So this is kind of like if there was a superpowered gate up during Make It Rain, or something like that, where people are optimizing. There's a really good fate up during a Garo, or during a Yokai Watch, or it ended up being like a PvP week during the Garo event. And so you're getting these overlaps where Squirt is worth battling because it's an easy opponent that gives you a massive amount of experience. The Pet Battle Bonus event doubles all experience. So when you overlap these, that's when it's amazing. But over the years, they've messed with the schedule, and it's gotten to the point where this kind of like eclipse within a, you know, the Mars is it, whatever, is very, very rare. And so this overlap here is outrageously rare. Let's see if they have the overlap. And so when is the next one? And it got where like something about EU versus NA kind of like shifted when it's up. So you can take a pet from 1 to 25 in 3 fights, or 2 if you have one of these items, which is very fast. And the overlap ends up being something that's very hard to predict. As far as like when the next one is, it's not hard. The overlap ends up being something that just doesn't happen very often. But let's see what the question is. During a recent group interview, the associate game director Jeremy Fiesel and lead software engineer May Flores Garcia were asked about updates to the pet battle system within the upcoming expansion Dragonflight, which launches at 5 p.m. CST on the 28th of November. I'll be playing it on stream. We're going to be playing it from a lore perspective, play it kind of like a Final Fantasy expansion, so it'll be very different than the way the directory, and even my history with the game has taught me to play expansions. If you want to come hang out, that's where I'll be. And then maybe we'll post thoughts over to Gaming Kinda at the various checkpoints as we play a lot through the first. On the second, I'm probably going to take a long weekend, so I'll probably stream that morning. We'll talk about thoughts, and then I'll take a long weekend because we're going to go hard from the 28th through the 1st. With how fresh the dragon riding system feels in terms of physics and talent trees and customizations, are there any talks of implementing a rework or an update for the pet battle system to bring in a new dynamic, either in Dragonflight or beyond? Jeremy says, Pet Battles is one of those awesome evergreen systems that we would like to definitely make it easier for players to onboard to. I think we have some plans looking into that I'd like to announce today, but we would definitely like to make Pet Battles continue to be an ongoing evergreen system that is easy for players to get into and play with. One of the advancements that we did make to the Pet Battle, I know for hardcore Pet Battlers, in Dragonflight, is that the Pet Battle bonus event is no longer exactly tied with the week that it was. It's now a bonus to other bonus events. So you can have a Super Squirt Day more often. It will no longer be a Super Squirt in like 2.5 years. It will come up more frequently. Cool. 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 Now, why is this important to me as somebody that is not known for getting into pet battling? For anybody that knows kind of what my goals are for 2023 within MMOs, one of them is I want to move into the top 100,000 players for total completion score within World of Warcraft on the Data for Azeroth website. This is me. I'm somewhere up above 100,000. I've seen it kind of bouncing around. So I think I slid at like 99,000 one week. But a lot of what drives that is your pet score. Your pet score can absolutely get you there. Pet score is ranked based on the rarity and level of your pets. Each pet has their level multiplied by 4 for rare, 3 for uncommon, 2 for common, and 1 for poor. Therefore, a level 25 rare is worth 100 points as opposed to a level 1 poor. So, across my 800 and whatever pets, then what I end up with is I have to multiply them by their rarity. So I would need to upgrade them to all being rare, which is a process. It can be done. You either have to go reacquire them from that source, or some cannot be reacquired, and there are items that will upgrade them to rare, but I need to go earn those. And I need to start leveling them, because a lot of mine aren't leveled, because it's basically 1 through 25 multiplied by 1 through 4. So I need to start chipping away at this, because this number could be a great deal larger. Almost, I think it's just under 900 pets. Let's go find out. 808 unique. I think my total collection is 890. So I think that's... Okay, so 808 unique means that theoretically I could have like 80,000 score, right? Because 808 unique times 100. So I could have 80,000 score. So I could quadruple my score, which is important because my total score is 255,000, which means I could pick up 60,000 points, which is a 25% increase over my total completion score. And that's a big one. Reputations is another area that I could work on. Toolies I could work on. And those become important not because of those categories, but because of what they do towards achievement points. They drive up a ton of achievement points, and they unlock a ton of appearances by capping all of those. They grant a bunch of titles and random crap. There are a bunch of recipes unlocked. So, I need to start working on reputations as well. Which are two just super chill things to do. Recipes is one I'd really like to work on. So, that's what's exciting about Super Squirt Day. That's really, really exciting.